Um, Good evening, and if you're just tuning in and you're listening live, you're listening to the Angel Rock. I'm your host, Lorilei Potvin, here on United Public Radio Network out of New Orleans, Louisiana. If you've never been here before, welcome. And if you're returning, glad to see you as well back here to join in the conversation. Before I introduce my guest, a little bit about myself. I'm a Canadian clairvoyant medium. I'm a crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher, and mentor, as well as a registered nurse. And hi, Michelle, welcome. As you know what, we have some great guests coming for you. Before I forget to mention this, folks, I just had this confirmed this weekend. The Angel Rock will be moving to a new time on Monday nights during, I guess you'd call it prime time, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday, April 25th. So I will remind you. And tonight, continuing with the show we did last week, I have some great guests coming up for you, but with the time change, we're just rearranging things. But always have great conversations with him. He's the host of his own show here on United Public Radio Network called The Delicious Recipe on Thursday nights. It's the Del. He's also my real life partner, too. I should mention that as well. Welcome, Del.
Hello, out there in the ether.
I should remind people, if you're listening, great. Also, if you want to tell your friends, please don't forget to share the show. It helps our network. Also, if you ever want to hear the replay, they're always up on YouTube, but please check them out on SoundCloud, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Spotify, Podbean, basically anywhere where talk radio is carried or podcasts, we are carried. Right, Deli?
You betcha. And I just want to say there is that you got to tell me what was that bar of that soap there that you had there, because it makes my hair look awesome.
I actually wrote a review on it because I've been starting to do things like that as a bit of an influencer. That was by Garnier. And they sent it to me for free as long as I wrote a review. And I've had it there forever. I've been telling him to use it. He decided tonight he was going to use it. It is incredible. I think it's called Whole Blends Essential. It's a shampoo bar. It lasts about 2 months. And Del, go ahead. Your hair looks amazing.
Yeah, well, I didn't even have to use that conditioner or that other pink spray that you wanted there. I just used the bar of soap there, and no tangles, no nothing.
What
And
yeah.
you know what? And I don't get paid by these people at all, but
Neither
just
do
wanted to.
I. Neither do
It's
I,
just
but it was great.
it says my hair smells great. It
And it's
feels
not
good.
girly smelling, right? Like it's kind of general neutral, the smell.
Yeah.
Hey, Ian, welcome. And Michelle, like I said, hi. I want to remind you folks too, if you're trying to watch the show and maybe you can't see it or you're listening and you want to watch the show, come on over to UFO Paranormal Radio Network. We are on YouTube under the same name, on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter. I think it's streaming to my Facebook profile and many places. But unless you're under UFO Paranormal Radio, for some reason, the comments don't show up. So I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you. It's just I don't know why they don't show up. So if I said hi to you, I can see your comments here. Right, Del?
Yeah, you bet. No problem. Yeah, you're
So
in there. You know what you should do there is go to your thing there and just make the pictures a little bit smaller, so then you can see your banner behind you.
okay, you're gonna have to tell me how to do it. Where am I going? Banners or brand?
No, just on the screen setup.
Screen setup. I just have solo layout on my phone.
Just layout. Okay, maybe I can do it then. Okay,
You do it. Yeah,
I'll do it then.
you have admin privilege.
Okay,
There you go. Okay,
there you
perfect.
go.
There you go. Perfect. 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 Thank you. You have to show me afterwards. We also produce our own shows now. I do want to give a shout out to Joe Montaldo, who owns the network of United Public Radio Network. He broadcasts right out of his beautiful house on the Gulf Coast out of New Orleans, Louisiana. And he gives us this platform to work on. But I'm going to start the show with this. I've been meeting quite a few people lately, and this is why I put the first little part of the show where we're going to talk about how to deal with kind of crappy people or crappy situations and how you deal with them. First of all, just so you guys know, and a lot of people are not aware of this, most people are not like Joe Rogan, where you get paid $10 million a year and one of the biggest podcasts in the year in the universe. We would love to be. We're working on that, and you guys can help by sharing it and telling your friends about our network, because we have something for everybody on this network. But we don't get paid to do this. A lot of
Hey,
people think we do. Were you going to say something, Bill?
hey, babe. Yeah, your microphone's scratching across your necklace
Jacket.
there.
Oh, my chains. Okay,
Yeah,
here, we'll put this inside my shirt. Is that better?
yeah, good.
Okay.
Because you keep on hearing scratching all the time
Thank
when
you.
you're talking.
I appreciate that because I do move a lot, guys, and I should tell you that too. I have a bad back, so I have to wiggle and squirm if you see that. But I wanted to let you guys know that. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't get paid podcasting. Joe Montaldo always has our best interests out there. But yeah, especially if you're an independent podcaster, you do not get paid to do this. We do it because we love it. We love our audiences that join us and the people that tune in every week and are there. You guys become like family. That's why, and on this show particularly for sure, we love to, have you guys join in the conversation, be part of this. But the other part people aren't aware of, most people have to pay for the spot to do their internet broadcasting. It costs money to have servers. It costs money to have a network. If you're independent, and there's hundreds upon thousands of podcasts out there that are independent, and that's why you may not hear about them unless you know the person yourself, or you've heard from a friend or something. Because this is leading into my discussion, and this is the last time I shall speak about this and give it any more attention. We're going to talk about why no attention. But last week I had the very fortunate opportunity, as I often do with many people I know in the podcasting world, to be a guest on their show. And I was a guest on a good friend of mine who is on Blog Talk Radio on Monday nights. So I did her show, had a quick little break, and then went right into our show last week. Now, people call into her show. We're not on video. And because of me being a clairvoyant medium, they call in with a quick question and ask for whatever I pick up from spirit. The last 60 seconds of the show, somebody happened to call in, and the host is amazing. She's super gifted as a numerologist. She's actually been on this show before. And she said to the caller, "We only have 60 seconds left, so you have to be very quick with your question. It's got to be yes or no answer." The caller chose not to get into the question. And I guess this caller had decided that the host had hung up on her. The host did not hang up on her. When you're done on Blog Talk Radio. It cuts off whether you're done or not.
Hmm.
Long story short, all the host said to her was, "We'll get a hold of Laura afterwards." I couldn't really address it. I didn't know what to expect. So this person decided to message me the next day on a Tuesday and proceeded to write me a novel, basically stating that they're the most amazing, wonderful person. They do great things for people all the time. And everybody craps on them. Everybody, her whole entire life, and even people in the spiritual field. Obviously, they haven't done their work, is what she put in this question.
And I just want to
Excuse me.
iterate into there is that I heard about this all week long. So,
You didn't hear about it all week long. I asked for a little bit of input from you. Long story short, I didn't have a chance to get back to this person till Thursday evening, when I went to get back to them. Now, this person was not promised a reading. I do charge for my readings. And they had gone to my business page, which I have had up there for between 12 and 15 years. And I pride myself on customer service. I have 5 stars out of 5 stars, or I did. This person, when I went to contact them, I saw they had blocked me. But I was able to see their messages. They had gone on my business page and put 0 stars out of 5, would not recommend me because they had a booked reading and I didn't get back to them. So they insinuated that they had paid for a reading, I had taken their money and ran. So long story short, we had less than a day and a half that passed between this. So my whole point is, I basically could not fix the situation because they had blocked me. But then they went after the host of the show, and this person's much bigger than I am. They've been doing it longer than I am. And they went after all her business pages, all her social media pages, and did really horrific things. Now, the reason why I share this is because we've all met people like this. I mean, heck, we've even come up with over the last 2 years the name Karen, which I have great friends that are Karens that are not Karens, but we all know who a Karen is. And my point is, and you guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, and Del too. I'm going to stop talking in a second. I think we're in an epidemic of narcissism. Now, narcissists, which I used to think they were, was the old meaning of the word that, as the mythology goes, I believe the person within was half human, half God, but was so in love with themselves, the narcissist, that they would sit and look at themselves in the mirror. That's not what a narcissist is when you break it down into the psychology world and break it down. But it's basically somebody who has very little empathy for anybody else. It's always somebody else's fault. And there's great expectations and assumptions, and it's always somebody else's fault, not their own. I'm going to stop there, Del. You can feel free to add whatever you want to this, but
Yes, it's goes into this whole uh, whatever culture it is now. There, it's
entitlement.
entitlement. That's part of it. The it's your fault, not mine.
Mm-hmm.
It goes into a whole other issue of this is what it's expected,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what I should have. Uh, Believe me, whatever my thoughts are, because those are true, and it
Mm-hmm.
could be true to you, but then
Mm-hmm.
it might be true to the rest of the population.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where we've sort of come to there right now, and it's sort of a sad state of affairs. That's a sort of a Hall and Oates tune throwback.
Mm-hmm.
I've been listening to tunes all day, so
I know you have.
yeah,
Well, my point is, and there's an old saying that says there's three versions when it comes to the truth. There's one side, the other side, and somewhere in that line, there is the actual truth.
right. And that comes in that, and that's a good point there, Laura. Is
Mm-hmm.
that that's the like on my show it
He's
says
back.
we throw everything in the pot and we see how it tastes in the end. You have to take all the information in, the
Mm-hmm.
left, the right, the good, the bad, and then you have to be discernative yourself to
Mm-hmm.
go and suss through that stuff and come up with your own uh, understanding of what it is, but still be open to new information that comes in. You
Mm-hmm.
can't be just sort of stuck in that's what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't be that way. And that I think there's I don't want to say that that's the way that kids are being brought up there today, but I
A
think
lot are
that yeah,
entitled.
right. And I think a lot of it's not even the part about the entitlement part is that kids are brought up and teachers that teach are have this one way sort of narrative like I've been talking to my buddy there, JB. I won't say his name,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a teacher, and he's looking about going back to teach in Hong Kong,
Mm-hmm.
and he's looking at okay, well, what are the restrictions on the curriculum that I'm allowed to teach,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to sort of look at that in two different ways. Okay, there's a lesson plan. This is what we need the students to go by. But the thing is, though, is that it should be uh, an even on the fence thing where kids think and learn. Right. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the biggest thing is that the part of like you know this as well is that
Mm-hmm.
I went to school. I have calluses on these two fingers that'll never ever go away from writing. That's all I did
Mm-hmm.
was teacher wrote on the blackboard, and all I did was write it down on a piece of paper for all day long for like 8 hours while I was at school. Teacher write on the blackboard.
I
I
got it.
wrote it down,
Mm-hmm.
and that how do you learn from that?
Well, that we could probably do a whole show on this, and I know a lot
Mhm.
of people are here for the paranormal. We're
Right.
getting to it. I want to say hi to Zach Man and Truth Bomb. Thanks for joining us. No, but you and I have also talked about this, and I have an older son who's going to be 27 this July. But I
Hmm.
also have we have a step. They're Dell stepkids, but the youngest has severe autism, as I've talked about many times on this show.
Hmm.
But so we know where we're coming from, and we can only speak from what we've seen with the education system, but we talk to people from all over the world. But what there's been this new narrative, it seems, where everybody's a winner. And I have said that I don't have a problem with it with preschoolers or, really, really small children that you kind of want to get them, say, an interest in sports. But as time goes on, and everybody's a winner, that's not real life. Somebody always wins and a lot of people lose. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. The other
Well,
thing is that what is the impetus to improve? What is the impetus to try to do your best? And yeah, you may not win, but when you know in your heart that you've done your very, very best, the only thing that we should be measuring ourselves by is how did we do yesterday versus today? Were we able to at least match that or maybe improve a bit? I know you're going to add something. Go ahead.
yes, well, that comes, well, I guess the big topic that's been going around is with sports, with transgender
Hmm.
males going into female sports and
We
just
have to be careful with this because we're on
no,
YouTube.
no, I
So,
know, and just crushing records
hmm,
and just
hmm,
like destroying them.
hmm.
Okay. And I've said this many times before, and I'll say it again. If you want to get rid of this, you remove gender out of the whole thing and just have them all compete in their own uh, as one thing. So the
Hmm.
best of the best get to go and perform. You can't bring in the whole thing about um, what's that? The affirmative action. You can't have whatever. If you want to have the best team, you're going to take the best people on there to make the best team. And I think this whole part that has been sort of misguided and this sort of propagandized small little fringe groups that have sort of taken over society
Hmm.
because it's less than 1% probably. There's a very small population of them, but they've come in there, and I can go into the whole George Soros thing. This is the whole OSF agenda
Well, where I
about
wanted to go with this to
destructing
stop
stuff.
you for a
Yes,
second
let's go.
was
Let's go paranormal.
no, no, no. Let's just finish this because I said, and I think it's helpful for people. How do we deal with all this? And what my point, and then I want to hear your thoughts, Del, is what was, and I like to go from real life events. That's why I shared what I went through this week. Del is right. I did talk to him a lot about it because I was very hurt and I was very upset about this because I had no control. And then with connection with spirit, what I've realized is the people that are meant to work with me will work with me. They'll find me. The other thing is, and it's anything that we do, it's human nature. We could have 100 positive reviews, but the one negative that we get, whether it's a
Yeah.
review, it's a comment, it's whatever someone has said, we focus on that. And it negates all the positive that we've seen. Zach, I'm going to highlight your comment and read it. It says, I compare this to when I used to do Brazilian Jiu
Yeah.
Jitsu as a lightweight white belt. I could have competed against heavyweight black belts, but the black belts couldn't compete in your bracket. No, I hear you. But where I was going with this is when we're raising young children to believe that
Mhm.
everybody's a winner and that, it doesn't matter whether you do your best or not, as long as you show up, you
Mhm.
get a trophy. That's not real life. And I don't think we're doing children a favor doing that because when they get into the real world, I
Mhm.
mean, it's an absolute shock, right, Del?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. There is that. I'll give a little story here quickly. Okay. My dad was a hockey coach
Hmm.
back when I after I was born. He 1973 had that. In 1974, I was 4 years old. He put me on the team because he was the coach and he had pull whatever just to get me out skating. Right.
Hmm.
So the first year I skated, I touched a puck 4 times.
Hmm.
The second year, when I was 5, I scored 7 goals.
Hmm.
Okay. The third year, I was MVP of the league,
Hmm.
and I got this huge trophy. I've shown you the pictures there, anyways. But the thing was, though, was that I wanted to go. There was an end or an ending or somewhere to go forward to go move forward, right?
Hmm.
If you can see this, guys, move forward. But if everybody is there, and this comes in, this is why I don't. I have such a problem with this. Is that with if everybody gets equal admiration for being there, but they just sit on the bench and they do nothing. They never contributed anything to it, but two people did all the work for it, but everybody gets equal admiration.
Hmm.
It's not a part about being fair, but what does that teach everybody there? It says,
Well,
so the rest of them, it says, hey, I just want to be on that guy's team and I can just sit here and just coast.
mhm,
And that comes to this whole thing about learning and knowledge and
mhm.
striving to make advancements in life, is that you want to strive further than the person that was above you. That's the drive. And I think that's what,
Or even measuring yourself
yeah.
against yourself,
Mhm.
because yeah, sometimes we can compare, but my whole point is, how do we deal with people like this? And part of it is, right, and all I can do is share from my own experiences.
Right.
Could, I could sit and try and think about, and in the beginning I did, about, was there some kind of lesson for me to learn out of this in the bigger
Yeah.
picture? I know you're really excited by this, but there are people
No,
that
no,
will
no. I
hear
know.
this.
I got so many other thoughts going on
Okay.
here because and there's so much other things I want to say, but we're supposed to go paranormal
We
and
are going paranormal. I'm going to
okay,
finish it and then we're going to go paranormal. So I can only share about how I dealt with this. In the beginning, I tried to give her some grace. There's nothing wrong with having boundaries with people like this. Know where your line in the sand is. But remember that we don't always know other people's stories. So we don't know what's happened to them. We
right.
could just be the 100th person that they believe, did something crappy to them, for example.
Hmm.
But when I saw how far this person went with this, there's also trolls out there. And my only answer to those people is, find something productive to do with your time that
Right.
betters your life and somebody else's life, rather than, if your life sucks and you're that unhappy, you don't need to spread it around like a disease to everybody else, because you're not going to feel any better. And all you're going to do is hurt other people. When, you know what, if you've got that much time to be trolling and doing awful things like this,
Hmm.
take that energy and put it into something productive.
That very good words, and that's
Hmm.
and I think that's the part that's sort of been missing
Hmm.
is because you see uh, because my brother is a teacher, my ex girlfriend before you was a teacher,
Yes, I
and
know
I
that.
and dealt with that, and I knew up in Ontario what they were told was is that you don't fail anybody, you just pass
Hmm.
them on.
Hmm.
Yeah. And that's sort of a really like when I went to school, I failed calculus. I had to go and take summer school,
But you
right?
learned there was consequences for your
Exactly.
actions.
And there is no consequences anymore. And you
Hmm.
see this a little bit more. And I don't care if this hurts people's feelings out there, but you see kids nowadays that are growing up, there's no respect anymore
Hmm.
for,
I agree.
eh, and that's the truth. I don't care if you don't like it. That's just something to throw in the pot. Kids do not respect things. I when I lived in Toronto, there used to be gangs of little 13, 14-year olds that used to go and roll people and steal their leather jackets, steal their wallets and stuff like that. And they didn't
Hmm.
care because the Young Offenders Act said their record is expunged when they're 18.
Hmm.
Do all the stuff you can do. That's why you got gangs and drug people there, whatever. It says we'll get the young kids in there as soon as you're before you turn 18. You don't get you. That's off your record. You
Well,
don't
that's
get tried as
here.
an adult, and
That's here in
that's working the
Canada.
system. That's working the system.
That's where we're going at that, working the
Yeah.
system. Like Zachman, I'm going to read your comment. You said all the trolls from Twitch called into Jason's show. So Jason has an amazing show on Sunday night. It's called Paranormal Soup, streaming on Facebook and YouTube. Please check it out. It's amazing. Has great guests. He really helped us out a lot with our paranormal situation. And Zach, you said they kept using your name, and you just came out and told them to come up with an original name. I guess that's where I'm going with this. And then we'll leave it at that, and we'll head over to what everybody's here for, the paranormal. But I think this is useful because there's probably not one person listening to this that has not gone through this, has
Hmm.
not dealt with this.
Hmm.
And what do you do? Because I also find that there's people out there that like to push other people's buttons, purposely put posts out there, start a whole bonfire, and then gently pull back and watch the fireworks go off. What I'm saying is, when I say draw your line in the sand, it's okay, and it's sad sometimes when you got to be the bigger person to look at, maybe there was something awful going on in their life, whatever it is. Whether you choose to give them a bit of grace, that's okay. But the other thing is too, there's nothing wrong with standing your ground and saying, you know what, that's not acceptable. I'm not taking this crap from you. and
Yeah.
either blocking them or standing up to it, or how I dealt with it, I'll be very honest. Because on my Facebook business page, when somebody does something like that, you cannot remove it.
Mhm.
So I addressed it, and all I did was told the facts. I just exactly how I shared it here.
Yeah.
I shared the facts there. I blocked them. When it happened to my friend that was the host, they were well aware because I'd already made them aware of what had happened. They did the same, and we refused to feed the trolls. But that's my
Yeah.
point. Remember, there's two sides to every story, some version of
Mhm.
truth in the middle. But if it's not acceptable to you, have every right to stand up and say no, but leave it at that, because some people get into absolute wars online about it, and all it does is feed the trolls. Would you be right about that, Del?
Yes, I just wrote that down there. I said, internet trolls,
Mm-hmm.
done. We're done
Mm-hmm.
with internet trolls. So we did a little bit of paranormal.
Yeah, I guess. Well, the only thing is they're not fictitious. That's the only problem. So last week, as you know, we were talking about the paranormal, and right at the end, and I think it was you, Zach, that had said that you'd never heard of little people before, but I had also put my post out there that we want to hear about your stories too. I said we're going to talk about the strange, the unexplained, the unexpected. And if you guys have some stories or some points that you'd like to add, we would love to talk about them. I will highlight them. I'll get Del not to unhighlight them because people like to see their names up there in their comments. But Del, let's talk about, we talked a little bit about it, but how did you get your interest in little people? And if you can refresh people's minds about what are little people?
Okay. So at the beginning time, there is that when I started doing my show on here, I started looking about history and lore
Mm-hmm.
and stories that were there in fairy tales and throughout the world. And I started looking at, okay, well, there's other cultures in other continents that for thousands years have sort of similar stories.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had a guest on there, Varla Ventura,
Yes.
and I was going upstairs and I heard her talking, and
I wasn't
but
answering you fast enough in the comments, so you came up and just jumped onto my show. You had to ask her questions.
so I bumped in there, I jumped on there, and I was like, okay, now I have questions. But I've been asking questions ever since I was born.
Mm-hmm.
That was the whole thing there, and like that was the thing is that my parents probably would have never met any of our neighbors there except for me, because I just would go over
Interesting.
and just go and say, "Hey, how you doing? Who you doing? What are you doing?" Stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. That's I just always wanted to. I was always inquisitive as a
Mm-hmm.
kid. I'm very laid back and quiet there now, anyways. But if you want to
Okay.
believe that,
Okay.
but but the thing is, always that like even here, right? You can attest to this. There's that you never would have met the neighbors around here,
True.
right?
Well, I would have probably, but not in the amount of time. But what we should say is
Yeah.
nobody talked to each other until we moved in, and you have that credit. I do want to say hi just in case you haven't been here in a while. Welcome. It's 4:32 a.m. over there. Welcome. You're over in Scandinavia, if I remember correctly, right? Go ahead, Del. Sorry.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So so we'll just fast forward. So I've always been asking questions. I asked questions even growing up at the church. I'm going, okay, are these stories real, whatever, and blah blah blah. Talking to uh, just different people, and like my mom baptized us. Like I can baptize in three different religions. It's like my mom wanted to cover all the bases to make
Mhm.
sure that her kids would be safe, and kudos to her.
Mhm.
Anyways, but I was asking questions about stuff and going, how is this possible? How is this real? And stuff like that.
Okay, let's
And
get to little people.
okay, so it ended up being is that Barla Ventura, that part there, it says she was talking about that, but I just had talked to my neighbor because I was doing a show about on cryptids,
Mhm.
and I was asking her from, and she was from one of the reserves north of Thunder Bay, and I said, do you guys like because I was a prospector, I worked in the bush and stuff like that. Do you guys have like a stories about Sasquatch or Bigfoot or whatever the name? There's hundreds of names, anyways. But it says no, we don't even talk about that. We're worried about the little people.
Mhm.
And I went, what? I said, that's you mean the leprechauns on the lucky box of or lucky charms or whatever stuff like that? No, no, the little people. And then that sort of pulled in that whole thing about Varla Ventura when she started talking about that. That's why I jumped into the room, and then I had her come on the show, and I love that. I love her anyways. She's got a wealth of knowledge anyways, and such a
So,
good
long
thing.
story short, and we should refresh people's memories if you
Yeah.
don't know who Varla is. Varla is an author. I met her actually years ago on Jason Bland's show from Paranormal Soup. And she's written books about mermaids, fairies, werewolves, vampires, the paranormal, the strange, and the unexplained. And she has a wealth of knowledge. She is,
Mm,
every time I have her on, everybody loves her. Dell set up with her. We'd have her on every time we have a change of season when we were on the
yeah.
same nights. We do a 3 hour show.
Yeah.
So we still have her on quite often. That's a good question. Zach wants to know this. I would say no, Zach, with this, but he's asking, would Tommy knockers be considered little people?
Oh, I'm just looking at the big screen there. It says I'm looking here. So if you ever see me looking off, I'm looking over here.
Okay,
So
I
yeah,
would say no.
yeah. So he wants a little person too.
Oh,
You know
here we
what?
go.
It says if you want a little person there, you can contact Laura Lee on her business website
Oh, he can
there,
get a hold of me, Zach.
and yeah, and then she'll make one for you. I'm not sure what she's charging for these guys. This one came free because he's the personal protector of my show.
He's
So
not, he's not he didn't start as a doll, believe it or not. He started as a sock, Zach.
yes,
So his name is you. And when
no,
Dell
no,
told
his
me,
name is Hey You.
okay, I was going to explain. You said you, and I said you, and you said as in hey you. That is
Yeah,
his name.
his last name is You. His first name is Hey. Hey
Hmm.
You.
And he's a little rocker dude like Dell, so I make
Yeah,
gnomes. So what getting back to Tommy knockers, now I'm not an expert, but as I understand, Tommy knockers are spirits of previous miners in the caves, or believed to be, and that they knock. There's been various reasons. Back in the olden days, they used to bring in a canary, and if the canary passed out or fell over dead, they knew that the carbon monoxide was getting
yeah,
too high.
yeah,
But I've also heard many different stories about Tommy knockers, that there's been negative experiences, but there's been positive, where they've been knocking to let miners know that it's time to leave, because they don't use, obviously, canaries anymore. They have much more sophisticated equipment.
yeah,
But I don't know. I've never seen a picture of a Tommy knocker. But getting into little people, and it's not the same as a politically correct name for little people that are human beings. There again, we're going to bring up Nuke's Talk 5 again. I am, anyways.
yeah.
He gets videos sent from all over the world. He's in Norway. He's from North America, I believe. His Just In Case is over in Denmark. So welcome. Glad to have you back here, Justin. Like, it's Just In Case. We haven't seen you in a long time. Um, anyways, he had a video that was sent in actually from Alberta, which is a few provinces over from where we are. I believe it was on one of the First Nations reserve. You can usually tell when somebody's from there. They have a different accent, we'll say. And what happened? There you go. Justin's going to tell us all about Tommy knockers. Thank you. And I'll read that in just a sec. So there's a particular video from about 6 months ago, because people send in videos from all over the world of paranormal or really strange or scary activity. And these people, it almost look, I don't know, don't look like a teepee, didn't it?
Yeah.
It, and they've got their camera and they go, look, little people. And as the light's on, you see this really small little being popping back behind the teepee. And so
Hmm.
they turn the lights off, and then you hear a little bit of scurrying, and they turn the light back on again quick, and it's outside. And they get this on camera about 3 or 4 times.
Hmm.
And there's been other activity similar to that as well. You're going to add something, Del?
Yeah, well, this is the part when I've talked to several other people that have been off of reserves and stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
about occurrences, right? And then you have the general population that says, "Oh, that was just a squirrel. That was just a raccoon. That was just this," and it isn't when somebody says that they see an upright, small humanoid type person running across or running across their home or their deck. And this has been like this goes even to the part about Bigfoot. There is that we talked about this last week. Is that if you ever worked in the bush or even seen a bear stands up. He can be tall. He can look like he's a Sasquatch, but he can't run standing up.
Mm-hmm.
He can't run and move like that.
Mm-hmm.
He has to be on all fours,
Right.
and that's just a fact of life.
Mm-hmm.
They don't run. Their legs are short and they're bottom heavy. Like
Mm-hmm.
every if you ever see a bear looks like they go like this: wide butt to narrow in the shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes like that for skunks. It goes like that for raccoons. It goes that for a lot of things. Wide butts, smaller, going towards the head.
So your
And
point, what you're trying to make is if somebody captures, say, if it was a bear standing up, you're going to know it's a bear because there's no comparison between that and what may
well,
have been
no,
caught on
I'm
camera, a
gonna say,
Sasquatch.
well, we say is that if you see something standing up in the bush, you don't know what it is. But
Mm-hmm.
if it starts running on
Mm-hmm.
all like on two legs,
Mm-hmm.
running at a
Yeah.
clip,
Yeah, but what
like
about a
a
dog man?
well, there's those there too. That's other stories. So that's what I was getting in with Kvitovic. I think it's Kvitovic up in Nome, Alaska. Xeno hunters, and
On YouTube.
There's stories of dogmen that are here in Canada.
Absolutely all
Yeah,
over.
yeah, and well, not just Canada, but in other places that are northern. And the thing is, though, too, there's I wish I would have saved this one. I didn't. I didn't. But the Library of Alexandria.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's stories and tales that are written down there that there was dogmen
Yeah.
talk in the library talking with human beings
Yeah.
and magic carpets. This goes in the whole Sinbad
Yeah.
and that stuff there. And the reason Genghis Khan came in to go and destroy with his horse nation was to get rid of the dogmen that were using magic carpets, right? Because that was a faster source going across the dunes than it was with horse. So he came in with legions of things to go and destroy them and burn the carpets. And I think there's a if I look into the lore, I think there was only one carpet that was left that survived that was put into like a, a clay urn,
Mm-hmm.
and that survived everything after Genghis Khan came in there, and then the burning of Alexandria, and
No, I've heard of this. I'd love to
yeah,
hear from the people in the chat. But
mm-hmm,
when you go back, like Dell said, that far back in history, there are, I guess, on scrolls that have been found, and there's even been drawings of an actual race of, I guess you'd call them people. They had their own language, but they had the head of dogs, they had the tail of like the dog, but
mm-hmm,
a lot of hair, but they lived in tribes and they were upright. So again, are they the same thing? I'm
mm-hmm.
not sure. The whole reason why we got on this, and I haven't forgotten, just I'm going to get to the comment on Tommy Knockers in just a sec, is that when you see something upright, tall, and running on 2 feet, like on two legs, it is definitely not a bear. That's the whole point, right?
Right, yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
and the part about it there is that if anybody that's hunted or worked in the bush or dealt with animals,
Mm-hmm.
um, the only thing that really, if you watch it, even watch a monkey or a chimpanzee or even a, oh look at who came up here to join me. Oh, the cat. Oh. But any of those things is that most animals and even when you go into the primate stuff, they're on two legs. They walk different. If anybody who saw Smoking the Bandit, or not Smoking the Bandit, what was that one there with Right Turn with Clint
Oh, with
Eastwood?
the orangutan,
Rain,
yeah.
yeah, with like
Clyde.
yeah, right turn, Clyde, boom, and it goes and punches. But if you see how primates walk, they walk very bow-legged and out, and they sort of move like this. And you know what? Me moving like this is probably gonna upset the Scientology people that are out there listening to this, but they just move. and they don't move like straight like a human being does. And a lot of stuff that's out there says a lot of stuff is fake. A lot of stuff is could be something else, and that's the part we don't know yet, right?
Okay, but we'll get back to little people in a bit because don't want to get too far ahead.
Yeah.
And I appreciate Justin put here about Tommy knockers because Zach, if you're just joining us, you're listening to the Angel Rock live on United Public Radio Network. Zach, one of the people in our chat, had asked, would Tommy knockers be considered little people? And Justin Case answered, there are several types of Tommy knockers. Among the oldest descriptions, the Arabs, so-called clow, I think it's, sorry, I haven't got my glasses on.
Cloudbirds.
Clabouters,
Yeah.
literally knockers who knocked on boat hulls to warn the sailors. So Zach says, I am open to the possibility that there were other humanoids running around during man's early years. The Old Testament would call them Nephilim, but I respectfully disagree. And so do I, because there's a big difference between the Nephilim and what we're talking about right now, I believe.
Yeah, well, the thing is, goes into other cultures and history is that it was part of, I don't know what I want to say, is that either they were a genetically modified history of some sort of outer influence that mixed human DNA with animal DNA. And you can see this today, right now, is that even though the UN, it says you're not supposed to go and make clones of anything, it's already happened. It was done in China, and there's a whole big thing about that. And you can't tell me that no other country has thought about
so let's go
mixing
there for a sec.
Human DNA with an animal.
Okay, so
that was the whole thing about the island of Dr. Monroe, right?
Okay, but let's go there for a sec. So yes, apparently in North Korea, the leader, I always forget his name, I can see him in front of me, and I'm sure Zach will remind me or somebody in the chat. Pardon? Yes.
Ko Jong-il?
Yes. He debuted his super soldiers. Now, I haven't seen the video. I haven't had a chance to look it up. But apparently, they were getting hit with sledgehammers. They were massive, these soldiers.
I saw that video, yeah.
And there was a mark on them. Didn't flinch from the sledgehammers. But what I wanted to bring up very quickly...
It was done by Sony, right?
I don't know. I didn't see it. Just somebody told me about it I'm in a messenger group on Facebook for international podcasters,
right,
independent news people. Somebody mentioned it there. But thanks, Zach. Like you said, Kim Jong-un. Yeah. So what got me, though, there was a video clip, and it was meant to be humorous, but there is a Chinese female scientist wearing a white lab coat. I swear to God, holding a baby dinosaur. Now, again, could it have been an animatronic and done really well? I don't know, but this thing moved and looked like it was real, and somebody had put the clip. Isn't it cute? And then it goes to an African-American man who pauses and says, won't say the radio friend, I'll say the radio friendly version, but he goes, biatch, is that a dinosaur? I just about died because I must have watched that clip 30 times to look at this thing. Is it real? Is it not? Because, okay, I believe, and we've talked about this off camera, Del, I believe that we were once a civilization before. Now, whether it was some kind of catastrophic event or what it was, I think we had to start all over again. What do you think, Del?
Yeah, well, that just actually, I just even seen the thing there before there. That was who was the guy that just passed away there?
Jordan Maxwell.
Jordan Maxwell, right? And he was talking about how the stars and the ages. It says it was now we're in the time of Pisces, and how the Christianity is the fish. Everybody has a fish on their car, but the century 1250.
Actually, we're in Aquarius now. I don't know where Dave is. Maybe he got busy, but Dave would tell us that if he was here. He'd say, "No, we've entered into the age of Aquarius."
We're ending the age of Aquarius. We're going to something more, right? That's why the end times.
We are going into it. We're ending and going into it. I know because
I can't remember what it is, anyways. But the whole thing, but even the Mayan calendar and stuff like that, they go through this whole part about cycles, right? Things go around. And we talked about this. I'm not sure if you were on that show or whatnot, but how history. I mean, well, it was with uh, Paul Anthony Wallace,
Mm-hmm.
and how history has sort of been deleted and obscured,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, this comes in this whole thing about the like stories in ancient lore talk about little people, they talk about big people and
Mm-hmm.
super big people,
Giants.
giants,
Mm-hmm.
and you have these mega structures. And they said, oh, we were just all cavemen, that we went to farming, and then we got to the metallurgy age, and then all the way through. But these structures that they had there
Mm-hmm.
were built, and massive stones moved,
I'm here.
and
Sorry.
it's just unbelievable. It says like, okay, so there's a part in history that goes on there. It says, okay, well, there was sort of, this is what I was taught in school, is that caveman to human were dumb,
Yeah.
right?
Well, just in
But
case made some comments about that actually about Cro-Magnon and
right,
versus Homo sapien.
but that's the way you were taught in school. As I grew up here in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
is that caveman was dumb, and nothing really ended up happening until it moved forward. And then when Christianity came through, everybody sort of basically became civilized and controlled by government and state. And there's a huge power. There's a whole show about the Roman Catholic Church and the Vatican that we won't get in there today, but
Right.
that because that goes other ways. But thing is, but this is why I got, okay. We're going back into the little people, and so my neighbor, I asked her. It says, "Yeah, do you talk about Bigfoot?" And she goes, "No." It says we worry about the little people, and she told me a story. Is that this was just north of Thunder Bay, up there. It says one of the kids was walking home, and he heard this sort of noise in the bush, like singing or whatever. And he walked in there, and he came across what he said. This, okay, so this is like telephone, the game. So you don't know how much this goes on there, whatever, how it's got skewed. And he ended up going to out there and finding it, and he found this small little person out there, sort of playing this sort of it wasn't like a guitar or a lute or something. It was just like strumming and hitting this sort of twiggy sort of thing there, but it made music, and he was singing. And he came out there, and it's like he was shocked. He was an 8-year old kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he disturbed the person that was there, and he got mad. So he ran back into town. Like it's probably only like about less than about a kilometer or half a mile for you American people out there. And for about 2 weeks, their house got destroyed. Like things would happen, like things would get pulled off and that. And so they went to the elders that were there and says, "Yeah," it says, "we're having problems here, stuff like that." And the elder says, "Yes, it took a little bit of time there, whatever." And the kid finally confessed to what he saw and what happened. It
Mm-hmm.
says, and it said, "Yep, you have to go to the place that you were, and bring a big meal with an apology, and like, and put a plate down there, and leave it there, and just as an apology for disturbing, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And did that, and all the special interaction there, sort of that was happening with the house, all subsided. It all just went away. And this is another part there too, is I want to say, is that because I've been for like 10 years been going through this, not all encounters are negative. Some of them are
True.
really positive, right?
I wanted
Like,
to just add before you go any further. So
yeah,
Dave's been trying to type and his comments aren't showing up. So if you hear a ding, guys, I've got my laptop here. I told him, if you don't know who Dave is, he's another one of our regular supporters of the network. He follows my show. He's been on my show. He's a biologist as well as an astrologer. He's been on Dell's show a couple times too.
Yep.
And he always has great things to add to the conversation. So we're going to do it a different way. I've got my laptop on my lap here because I know he'll love to join in. And I do want to put some of these comments up here. We've got from Just In Case. Let's see. Where are we? He said, well, from early on, Homo sapiens did live simultaneous together and crossbreed with Cro-Magnons and Neanderthals. He said Cro-Magnon had larger brains than Homo sapiens. And then Zachman, when I talked about the dinosaurs before you went into this story, Del, he said, obviously, these folks have never seen Jurassic Park. Stay away from the frog DNA. And you know what, Zach? I was saying the same thing when I saw this. Because as we talked a bit about last week, Del is much more of a skeptic than I am. Even after everything we've been through with the paranormal, and no, I'm not so gullible that everything I see, it's like, oh my God, that's got to be true. It's just because I haven't seen it or heard of it doesn't mean it didn't happen. Whereas Del needs in his brain to sort of debunk it 6 ways to Sunday, right, Del?
Yep.
Before you'd admit that it's necessarily the paranormal. And it
or something I can't explain.
I just was going to add that, or you'll put it under the title of the unexplained. So, but that's the whole thing with the paranormal, right? But then again, and we've gotten into these discussions before, some of my puzzling thoughts about it. Well, some of the things I've said that you've already mentioned is, I truly believe it either had to exist or there was some truth to it with things like giants, werewolves.
Right. Just before you go on to that part, there is that what you said about me being a skeptic or whatever, is that this is why I went into studying and about magic and the amazing James Randi, and he put out like $1 million things there about people that were psychic and stuff like that to prove it, and Banachek and stuff like that. And I watched all their documentaries. I've listened to I read all their books. And stuff
okay,
like
so
that.
What's your point?
Is that this is why I'm a skeptic, is that there might be a way to sort of, when people do magic, there's tricks and stuff that is done, right? But that's the reason why I go that sort of that route, is that I have to go and see if it's not explainable, that I put it into the unexplained.
Yes, that's true. But like I said, just because I haven't seen it or heard it, I wanted to grab something very quickly, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Because, for example, I'm going to grab a pendulum. So keep talking there for a sec. I want to show something when you talk about magic. I just have to grab it from off camera here.
Yes.
And I will grab one. Go ahead.
And there's a way that, and I know what you're going to do with the pendulum, but there's a way.
I know, but I want to show something because I want to make a point here.
Yeah, no, you showed it last week there too. But the thing is, was that
well, they don't have the same people here.
Yes, but the thing is with the pendulum, there's a way to scientifically do to see if it would move the same way. And I know you're not going to do it that way, because
no, I'm not, because I don't think like you do.
That's right. And so that's what makes us the best pair in the world.
Oh, sure. Okay, my whole point is, oh yeah.
You agree. I want to hear some yo's out there. Yes,
no, okay.
Yes,
so my whole point about him with magic and stuff, I was a guest, and I don't think I said it on this show. I think it was a previous show a couple weeks ago, but I was on a good friend of mine. He's been on my show a couple times, Michael, and he's got his own show, Dark Hour Paranormal. It's a great show, and I was a guest on there, and we were talking about energy. And there's a reason why I'm bringing this up again, Del. So this isn't quite a pendulum, but
look at that. The cat's going on my TV.
Oh, yay. And you're not yelling at it? Okay, so you guys can see this. Okay, and I don't think I've even really played with this. It's not really a pendulum, but I can tell it what to do while I'm talking to. I'm going to tell it to move back and forth. Okay, then I'm going to ask it to stop. My arm will jiggle a little bit, I'll tell you that. Okay, now I'm going to ask it to go in circles. And I haven't really played with this, so I don't have quite my energy in it. I got to focus on it too. Oh, no, it's going to go back and forth. Stop. I'll have to get it to start again. When I have a pendulum, because it picks up your energy, everything on this planet is energy, right? It can't be created nor destroyed, but transferred from one place to another. So let me see if I focus. Okay, go in a circle. No, this one's not really balanced, so I don't even know if it could go in a circle. Now it's going. Okay, and I'm going to get it to stop. This one I really have to focus because I've never even really touched this. With a pendulum, when I teach people, you keep it in your pocket, picks up your energy. But my whole point is, okay, is when I was on his show, people had written in the comments, and it was a pendulum I normally use. If I don't want to be off the camera, obviously, too long because I'm your host. But when I use, it's one that I use quite a bit. I can do that in 2 seconds and make it do whatever. So can Dell, once you figure out how to use your mind to work with energy. But my whole point is people were calling me a witch. People were saying, oh my God, she must be doing some kind of weird magic. Even the host, Michael, said, well, I'm an amateur magician. Like, how do I know you're just not doing a magic trick? It's like, because Michael, I have no idea how to do magic, and you've known me long enough. Like, I would have told you I'm an amateur magician because I know you've told me that you do amateur magic. But my whole point is because people hadn't seen it before, right away we jumped to, well, there's got to be some trickery involved. Whereas with myself and some of the weird and strange things I have experienced in life, whether it's working as a nurse, whether it's working within the paranormal field, living in our old house, it's taught me to realize that not everything is as it appears. And you can take that both ways. Like what Del just said, yes, there could be some trickery or what involved, but sometimes there are things that are truly unexplained. One of the topics we were going to talk about tonight. Like, can you think of some things for yourself that are unexplained
Okay,
but
this
are odd?
okay, now you're not going to like this, but
Okay.
this is what I would do, okay? And this is how a skeptic brain would work, okay?
We're
I
not
would
here to
go
play skeptic, Del. We're here to
no,
talk
no,
about
but I would
unexplained.
put the crystal hanging in the center of this and put
Mm-hmm.
it on the table,
Mm-hmm.
and then just hook up whatever piece of wire or some sort of energy conductive material, and
Mm-hmm.
just sit back here and then watch and then focus my energy. Now if that crystal started moving in that sealed
Mm-hmm.
container round in circles or up and down or right to left,
Mm-hmm.
then I would say there's something to it. The thing is, though, is that there's a part that goes into the brain about auditory movement, and that's the
Oh,
thing.
here
When
we
you're
go.
holding things, your hand will move,
Okay,
and
let's talk about Michelle DeRoche. We've talked about this before, that people are quite capable of doing telekinesis, and they are.
okay,
Okay. Now,
yeah,
again, that's your skeptic brain, and you're welcome to your belief
right,
system. I just pulled, I haven't even ever touched this piece before. I forgot it was in, I thought it was one of my pendulums. But my
yeah,
point is, okay, you and I have different ways we look at things, different ways we
sure,
think about things. You
yeah,
always need to, maybe that's part of having a male brain, and that's no diss on you or any men, but trying to understand, trying to figure out what this is all
right,
about. Whereas I am
because
open to the possibility
right,
that there's a reason why this happened beyond the obvious.
right, and
And
the
I stick it
thing
on
is,
the, wait, let me finish, that I stick it on my proverbial back shelf, and it sits there, and I wait to see eventually,
right,
is there something that's going to come up to disprove it or to
hmm
possibly support what I'm seeing or experiencing?
okay, and I'll look at it like that: is that if it comes into something that is energy related that can be moved by a body and stuff like that, and some person can do it
Mm-hmm.
and I can't do it,
Mm-hmm.
I want to figure out why I can't do it,
Mm-hmm.
and then I want to say put up some control things to figure out. Okay, is this being manipulated by magic? That's why I watch so much Penn and Teller and watch so many magic shows and that, and I
Mm-hmm.
find out about there's so much science behind things that are done in magic tricks, and
But
that's
we're
why
not
I
talking
love.
about magic. We're talking
No,
about the paranormal here.
right, I know, but a lot of people out there. This is the whole thing that ended up happening there with people that were doing tarot card readings and seances and stuff like that. They set up these rooms that they had these little switches going off to go and soak people out of lots of
Yeah,
money,
you're right.
right? And so
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm very. I grew up in a religion and looking at stuff, and I was told stuff that nobody could give me answers for. That's why my show exists. The delicious recipe. Throw everything in the pot and see how it comes out at the end. Right? It's the whole thing is asking questions. Question everything. right?
There's nothing wrong with questioning, like just in case added in one of the species, but by the father in the other species. When the gene is inherited by both parents, dwarves are the result. When the gene lacks or fails, gigantism is the result. Yes, there could be a scientific or whatever type of explanation,
Hmm.
but I always say I don't think we're going to know all the answers until we transition wherever you believe your belief. And I say the global you, what your belief is, what happens after you die. Okay.
Right.
I can only speak from my experience. And I can tell you that being there as a nurse, and I'm going to go there, I've said this many times, being there at the beginning of life, thousands or hundreds, not thousands, hundreds of times, working in the NICU, maternal newborn, and labor and delivery, and seeing life begin,
Hmm.
but also being incredibly
Amazing.
blessed and honored to be there at the end of life. And some of the things
Hmm.
that I have seen and I have witnessed, there was no magician in the room.
Hmm.
There was nothing going on. And I'm not the only nurse. I'm actually writing a book about this. Some of the things we have seen as nurses, specifically, it could be during our shift, but especially at the end of life. Believe me, that is the furthest thing from a family member's mind, is to pull in a magician and pull a magic
Right.
act or something when
Right.
their loved one is lying on a
Okay.
bed
Okay.
taking their last
Don't.
breaths.
Okay. Now you're gaslighting the part there. You're putting a thing out there. It says I'm not debunking all occurrences.
Hmm.
There's a lot of unexplained out of there.
Yes,
Don't go that way and to go and say, okay, well, it says some things people put out there online is fake.
but you tend to go to the fake all the time, Del, and I know
Right,
you well.
because I want
And
to go there, and what have I said to you many
mhm.
times? There is that. Then once I've gone and said I don't have an answer for that, I says I put it on the side. It says, well, it could be possible.
Yes, but that's the way you look at. That's the point I'm trying
Right.
to say to you. There's a whole spectrum
My
with
radar
this.
goes off 360 degrees 24 hours a day.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean everybody thinks that way and looks that way. And what
Right.
my point I'm trying to make, I'm not trying to gaslight you or anything like that. What I'm trying to say is sometimes things are exactly what they are,
Sure.
but because you want an answer or you want to debunk it, sometimes there just isn't an answer or to debunk it, but you can't
Right.
call fake
And
on everything. Just like you can't say that
I'm happy
everything
with
is
that.
true and real. You
And
can't.
I'm happy with that.
I
You know
know you're
what?
happy with that, but you brought it up. You wanted to go here with this. So I'm saying
Sure. The
why
thing
there's
is,
a difference. And there are people, all people are different.
mhm,
So you're going to
that's
get
sure.
people that,
Says I can't account for whatever something's going through somebody else's brain. Like
hmm
I can't tell you. It says my dreams that feel more real than
hmm
anybody else that says they don't dream, and who knows what it is. But there's a lot of theories out there, and theories aren't fact. They're just theories, and
hmm
that's a big thing. But a lot of people out there that sell a lot of books are making theories and selling them as fact. And that's the
obviously they're
thing
touching
that
somebody. They're touching somebody if somebody's reading the books. And I don't think that it's our job sitting here to discussing this, that people are fakes
I,
and people are buying books. It's
I just
whatever
want
you're
people
drawn
to
to.
go and think and ask questions. That's all I want. Ask questions.
Del, you think very unusually compared to most people, and I can say
Okay.
that talking to you as your partner. Most people don't think like you do. And I'm not saying that disrespectfully in any way, but we have to recognize that people have different thought processes and different experiences in life, and that yes, some people, whether it's you think it's fake or not, if somebody resonates with somebody's book that's out there and they want to buy it,
Sure. Yeah, that's
you're
good.
not hurting anything.
Well, that's exactly the same thing I said with my show, The Delicious Recipe. You don't have to like it. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but maybe you take an ingredient out of there
Hmm.
that gets you to think some way different.
Okay, so Dave said explanations for events are also very specific to each person's own quantum world. And
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, Dave, because when we were talking about the truth earlier at the beginning of the show, and I said that there's three versions, there's one person's, another version, and somewhere in the middle is the truth. But you think about that, we've seen this. Say there's a car accident and you've got 20 eyewitnesses. Like, how many times have we heard that there's 20 different accounts, depending where
Mhm.
people were standing and their analysis of what happened? is what actually happened.
Just even recently, we had this discussion last night with that transport truck that mysteriously fell onto the side
Yeah, we had
in the
quite the
weird.
heated discussion about this.
Oh my God.
What happened was Dell came back from, I think, Rio, where you were
Work.
somewhere,
Yeah.
and he saw this transport truck off of an off ramp to our highway, and it was completely fallen on its side with its wheels facing the road. The whole load had gone. So we were, and when I ran out and came back a couple hours later, it was still there. So we were trying to figure out how in the heck could this accident happen? Because there was a four-way light there. So was he turning left? And I said, well, what if he was coming this way forward through the lights, but he decided to use the off ramp? Maybe the load wasn't balanced and he tipped on the turn. And I don't know a lot about transports, but Dulcie seems to think that the load always shifts the opposite way you're turning, you said, with physics.
The
So,
load goes to
oh,
the outside of the centrifugal force of the circle as it's going through the curve. So for if
okay, Ian saw it
she's saying
happen.
that she went this way and
Ian
all of a
saw it
sudden,
happen. Let's ask Ian what happened. Ian also lives in our city of Thunder Bay. Tell us what happened while he's typing, because he also wrote that I need a ton of explanations in my own experiences and was booted from other groups because I asked questions. I'm
you know
sorry to
what?
hear
I'm
that.
going to tell you there, Ian 333. Keep asking questions. You know what? And the people that don't want to give you answers to questions or don't want to go respond,
Okay, now we have
delete
the
them.
answer to the mystery. Okay, when you put stuff, it's 11/11, guys, April 11th, at least here, magical number. Okay, so now we have the answer. We know what
Turning
happened.
too fast, hit the cent. Okay, that's what I said. Yeah, outside corner as he's turning, centrifugal force moves it out that way. Yeah, exactly. That's what
No, but what
I
we were
saw.
arguing about, Zach, was I said if he was turning right and going through the off ramp, what if the load was unbalanced and it caused the trailer to
And
tip?
it
And
fell
he told me it
inside.
couldn't. Now,
No,
Ian solved the mystery. This is the whole point about asking questions. Okay, we made a big point here about asking questions. Now, I said I stick it up on my what I call my proverbial back shelf because eventually I believe the truth will reveal itself. We just found out. Ian saw it happen. He says this transport trailer, he was turning um, too fast, hit the center median, and the trailer jumped. He said the trailer fell over and the trailer went over. Just in case added, I think it's right to ask questions. How else can we get answers? Yes, because if we don't, right, we probably never would have science. Somebody has a hypothesis, they're asking a question, or something needs an answer, right? Would you agree,
right.
Del?
Yes.
Okay.
A load does not shift inside of a radius. That's what I was trying to tell you there, but you wouldn't listen to that.
It
So,
wasn't that I wouldn't listen to it. I had another analysis of what I thought maybe might
right.
have happened. I didn't say you were wrong. I just said maybe there's an alternative answer, is what I did say to you. I didn't say you were wrong because I don't
Yeah.
know enough about transport trucks.
It was a really weird spot because I can understand if he was racing the light and he went to go through, but he was even past the part of the median, and I can see him maybe hitting that long part there at the end and going over, but it's such a tight area that goes there. So I don't know. Well, if you were there, that was good. I says that makes a little bit more sense because the news that came out there yesterday was like you were saying that he was coming and making a right
No, I
turn,
didn't. I was just
and I go on and
wondering.
says, how does he
Okay,
make
we're
a
getting
right?
hung up on a transport trailer. Let's move on. Okay.
Okay.
Because just in case
Well,
that it's valid,
maybe it was little people that flipped it over because it was
maybe.
full of Keebler Elf crap.
Well, just in case as it's valid for science as well as to ask spirituality questions. I agree. Now, I want to add what Dave said. He said there can
Okay.
be multiple or infinite explanations that are all correct depending on the specific perspective. And I agree.
Mhm.
And like I said, we were asking the question. Okay, this was just an example. Zach says absolutely right to just in case, and you are right. What I was saying is I was putting my own hypothesis. I didn't say it was right because I didn't see it happen. Maybe, and we were trying to figure out how it could have happened. I put the hypothesis out there. I didn't say it was wrong. And
Yeah.
I don't know enough about it. But what I'm saying, you know what the beauty in all this is? Okay, we're having this discussion right now, regardless of what the topic is.
Hmm.
We're all throwing our 2 cents into the ring here, or the
And
pot,
into
Dell,
the pot.
into the pot, since Dell wants to make sure you all don't forget a show. And
Exactly.
you know what, we're stirring it up, if you will, but that's my whole point is, and again, maybe I'm wrong, but I always believe that eventually something's either going to be debunked or the truth will show up in one way or another.
Sure.
It'll present itself.
Well,
I
that's
do.
like that. That's like the guy that we watched that, and he had such great videos of those little small little people, and we watched those, and we're like, oh, this is great. And then we found out that he was an animator that actually created this stuff
Yeah,
15 years earlier,
by a
and
debunking channel that was very kind. He had done that
yes, yeah,
backstory.
and he says, you know what? The best part about this is like the guy's an elderly gentleman. He just wants to make videos out there to give happiness to little kids to think that there's magic out in the
And
world.
nature, and
You're right,
nature.
and get them to go out and leave their computer and out and explore. And so that was the sort of twist that was in there. But you sort of, it was a part there is that, okay, we know this is fake, but maybe kids have imagination and go out there to go and look. And I think imagination and knowledge and going out and exploring and doing things is such a good thing for kids. They don't need to be on their computer
Well, it wasn't
and playing
just
video
kids.
games all day. But no, but it was for other kids.
No,
And
but the guy had said is
yeah,
what he had said was that the guy had beautiful scenery and
yeah,
that there was a lot of people that enjoyed the scenery. I agree with the part about the kids he had said. And what it was, if you're not aware of it, it was one there. If you look up fairy videos on YouTube, it's a gentleman from the UK. He's heavier set. He's older gentleman with a
let's see if I can
beard,
find it.
and he's got some strange little creatures that pop up in behind. Now,
Yeah,
from far away, they look really realistic, but as he
yeah.
started throwing a few other ones in there, it was so obvious it was Photoshop. But I want to add Dave's comment because it's funny. So when you brought up about the Keebler elves, Del, Dave says, I really do like the Keebler cookie explanation.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, and so Justin says, and political questions too. Now, that's always a hot button topic. But then again, so is all of this because everybody has a different belief system. Everybody has different experiences. And there are people that like to think more literally or logically, or like you said, Del, questioning everything.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't question things,
Oh,
it's
okay.
that if there's some evidence of a possible chance of there being some reality to it. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's fake. It goes back up on my proverbial back shelf and I wait. Like we found the answers to this guy. Why are you shaking your camera?
Oh, because I just wanted to go and upset the Scientologists there. That
Okay,
was it.
you can stop with that now. Okay, so did you
Okay.
find the
No,
video?
no, I'm finding the video right now. Okay, I'm gonna
Okay,
turn it around. This is that. His name is Erwin Sanders.
that's not his real name though.
Yeah. No,
We
no,
found out. No. Mhm.
no.
So
This is the guy.
it's a
But he
little
was
hard to
he
see.
he created. Is it hard to see?
Well, it's not for you, but because the cameras are small, people will see it if you tell them where to find us on
Okay.
YouTube.
Yeah.
And,
Okay. So I'll do that then. Okay. So his site is first sighting of a pixie. This is from 4 years ago. Fairies in the Irwin, Erwin, then Sanders, Saunders, and then he's got there's another one there, a coincidental life. Portals, fairy mounds, trolls, and elves. What can happen in the woods? So he did a whole bunch of different channels, and he posted them because he's the first one is that's him on there. That's the guy that created this, and he put it off as real. And then there was a bunch of other things there. People also that he put other sites out there that they were, hey, we're seeing fairies in the bush, and it and you're right. That part there when the guy debunked him,
mhm.
he was like, he said, you know what?
He was really kind.
Yes, he was. And the thing was that it brought, and like I said before, it brought this awareness for kids and youths, whatever, to go out exploring. And I think that was the biggest part that because he wanted to go out and look at nature and do stuff, and he thought this would bring uh,
Well, we
imagination
never
and
really
excitement.
heard what his thoughts were because he was misleading. But when you find out that he's actually a graphic artist and his
Yeah,
first name is Paul something,
yeah,
but for whatever reason, because there is a video on actually we brought up Varla Ventura earlier,
yeah.
and again, it's over in the UK, and it's a gentleman in the backyard with his three younger kids, and I sounds like they just moved to this place or were looking at moving to this area, and the kids are showing their dad all around the backyard, and there's quite a bit of trees and brush and what have you. And then they're sort of going towards the brush, and the little boy says, "What is that, Dad?" And his dad says, "What's what?" And he's filming all this. And holy crap, this thing, even Varla said she was convinced. And I mean, she's written books on every type of fairy out there, brownies and pukas and you name it.
Mhm.
This creature, it's all brown and it's not a bug. Like it's got a little face and it's got wings and
Oh yeah,
it,
I'll see if I can find that one
yeah,
there
see if you
too.
can find that one's really interesting. Oh, Ian's still telling us about he was racing with the light to stay with a group of other big rigs. Okay, and he was pretty inexperienced. So now we know how that accident happened. Thanks, Ian. Um, so, anyways, every time Varla comes on, she tells me that because I always send her a bunch of videos because, as well as there is a bunch of videos out there with gnomes. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, since we're talking a little bit about little people. Now, these are obviously bigger than the little people we're talking about,
Right.
but they found skeletons of little humanoids. I have heard stories of actual Lord of the Rings. What are the little ones? Hobbits. Like, did they really exist? I don't know because I've heard about that. I've seen some research showing back in the day they were able to find the skeletons. Okay, so is this the video?
No, this is another one, but there's looks like there's like a this is in the grass of a flower.
Well, you have to be careful with those because a lot of them, we're losing all kinds of people here. Del, maybe people don't want to talk about fairies here.
Okay,
So,
but the thing is, so but the going into little people there is that there was a story. Actually, there was a Disney one where these two little girls from England they created these really great graphics and they photographed it with
yeah,
their dad's
that was
camera.
back in the Victorian era.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
there's that one. But oh, here's it is. Top 10 real fairies caught on camera, part two. It's on Top 10 Videos World. And
I found a lot of those videos were fake or really like it was a
yeah,
bug on camera or what have you. I do want to add about the gnomes, you guys. If you check this out, there is one. It's real potato quality, as you could call it. It's really shaky, but you know how people put those garden gnomes in their garden and it's dark at night. I
mhm,
don't know who was filming it or what, but I'm not an expert at Photoshop, and this was quite a few years ago, so it's not when Photoshop is what it is nowadays. And this garden gnome, I swear to God to you, stands up, looks around, gets up, and walks. I don't know how it did. There's another one over. That's where I was kind of going with things. Like, is this whether it's a tulpa or what it is?
yeah.
But it seems geographically, wherever you live, there seems to be certain types of paranormal, like over in Japan. How many paranormal videos are there of ghosts or spirits of the girl basically from The Ring with the
Yeah, that's
long
another
black
one.
hair, white dress, South America, same thing. You get all kinds of crazy stuff. Like it depends, it seems, where you live geographically. Love to hear what people in the chat think about that. Like, have you guys seen that? Have you noticed that yourselves? Because we've got people from different parts of the world over here listening.
Yeah, this
Hmm.
one, the only video I found there is like in the first 3 seconds, and I trying to stop it there every single time, but it almost looks like it's a no. I don't know. I'll see if I can find it further on here, anyways, and see if I get a clearer picture of it.
Hmm. Well, that's the problem, right? There's a lot of, because I know I was trying to
Oh, there
send
it is.
Varla a few things. Like, for example, there was one, and there's a couple things in. Okay, so speaking of little people, there's a classic video I can think of. Um, there's a woman filming, it's in South America. She's filming her baby playing on the floor. He's about 18 months old. On the video, I don't know what this thing is. It's about this high. It almost looks like what you might think a goblin is. And it goes running across the floor. She screams because she sees it through the camera. Now, you never find out what happens, where it came from. And there's a lot of videos out there, it seems, from South America like that, like kids playing soccer and comes running across the field. Like, why? Or I
Mhm.
don't know. That's what I keep seeing myself, is depending where you are geographically. Now, is it a tulpa? Is it because the belief system in the area that energetically something manifests from that collective energy, if you will?
Okay, and I'll say this right now. Okay, this one, the video, because it's too hard to go and put the picture on here. It says top 10 real fairies caught
Mm-hmm.
on tape, part two. It's from November 28th, 2017. And
Mm-hmm.
it's top 10 videos world. I'll
Okay.
give you that. If anybody's watching, they can see that. And it starts at the 158 mark of the video. The video is 6 minutes and 35 seconds long,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sort of, there's two little girls. They're sort of eating apples, and all of a sudden the one girl goes, "Look at that!" And it's a dragonfly, and that turns into a
Oh, I've seen
fairy.
that. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of them. That's it. You have to wonder about. It says, can that be fake? Is that movie magic and stuff like that? The way this is sort of set up, and it's just like a lot of paranormal videos that we both watch. Is that why is the camera centered into the shot where all the action happens in the center of the camera?
I agree with that. Yeah, I
Yeah, that
agree.
sort of seems a little bit weird. But
Okay. Well, Justin Case says, yep, some years ago, they on the island Flores in Indonesia were found tiny skeletons of a now
mhm,
extinct branch of humans named Homo
Florensis,
floresiensis,
yeah, yeah.
popularly called the real life hobbits. Okay, so did they have the giant feet? Even the tallest adults were less than 4 feet tall.
Mhm.
Interesting. Now, did they have the giant feet like supposedly? Well, we wouldn't know, I guess, if they had hair like the mythology goes with Lord of the Rings. And again, I know it doesn't have to be identical to Lord of the Rings, but
Mhm.
mhm.
No, it's an interesting story. Is in Africa
Mhm.
there was a race of pygmies that
Mhm.
bordered against a race of super tall uh, African Americans that were way taller, like over
Mhm.
7 feet, right, or 6 foot plus,
Mhm.
right. So you had two civilizations that bordered each other, one very small and one very
Mhm.
tall, and there was no in between.
Yeah, but did that maybe serve something ecologically within where
I
they
think,
lived?
well, it was a part of a river system that was in between. So one tribe was on this side, the other tribe was on the other side, but they never intermingled, as far as we know, anyways. So,
Mhm.
but it was sort of like it's an interesting thing that you look around the world. If you look at all different cultures, you even look through humanity. If you go through just even different skin colors,
Mhm.
you get really tall white people out in the Norways and stuff like that, Scandinavian places, and you have very tall black people through Africa and stuff like that. But then you also have very small pygmies that are dark colored skin, and you have very small white people. You're looking through Asia and through the Philippines, and then you get the mixed colors there. So everything goes all this sort of roller coaster sort of way, but the way that it's all depicted in through history books and history that is taught in school is that these people are this, these people are that. It's such a melting pot of cultures, and it doesn't. It's not uniform,
Mhm.
right?
Okay, but I guess, and again, it depends what you believe in history. Again, we both agree on this, that we believe history has been changed, that,
Oh yeah, for sure.
that the truth hasn't been written there. But again, let's go back to the time of, the Egyptians with the beginning supposedly of the pyramids.
Hmm.
Scientists have looked at this. How did they create that? like, was it the Nephilim? Then when you get into the Dead Sea, apparently when it's seen from up above, it actually looks like a scorch on the land. There's still huge radiation readings coming from that area.
Yeah.
And then you hear, it depends what, I never even heard of this till about 10 years ago, about the possible ET, intermingling with humanity, and thought it was crazy till I kept looking at it and reading more and more. And Dell's met Paul Anthony Walls through myself. I don't know if you guys were present for when he's been on here. He's got some interesting books. He comes from a religious background as a pastor to the belief system he has now. And when you hear him speak about these things, and he's got quite a bit of proof with it about what he's seen and what he's researched, I think I don't quote me, but I believe it was him. Del, you can correct me maybe. Did he say possibly this is like the fifth ideation or creation, if you will, of civilized humanity?
Yeah, he was mentioning part of that comes from the Aztecs or the Incans through their calendar, that this is like and there's another calendar or another thing there that goes through the gold, silver, bronze, silver, gold of wheel of time that sort of goes through. And it seems to be that not seems to be, there is speculation and theory out there that maybe this is the fourth or fifth iteration of humanity through a cataclysm, and going up there, and things got wiped away, because they're finding stuff now. Is that our technology now is finding, even with lidar, radar that's out there, finding stuff that's hidden through the Amazon's rainforest, finding stuff that's through the water systems, civilizations that are 100 miles off the coast, but building in structures that are out there where water levels were different than what they are now. And you have to look at the part about continental drift and how things go on there and stuff gets moved away. And the biggest question there is out there through Egypt, going out towards the west through the Sahara Desert, what's buried underneath all that sand?
Yeah, I agree, because, so we hear is that nobody has examined right down into the absolute middle, if you will, of the pyramids, right? Plus there's pyramids, not just in Egypt, they're all over the place. But as far as we know it, there was no tools or anything present in that time period to be able to create, cut, and build something to that effect, right? That length, that size. Haven't they said with the building materials that it appears to be evidence of some sort of civilized tool, if you will, like to be able to cut it?
But you can't cut something hard with a weaker material unless you spend a lot of time there. Like water is the goodest or the best eraser of everything. Water just erases everything, because whatever debris is in the water, it just wears away stone, makes it smooth. Okay, but this is a question I asked, and I'm so upset that we missed that little part of the last half hour of the show where we were talking about this. Is that I had posed this question. I said, do you think that there was, because we have the continents out there, says that there was a Garden of Eden on every continent, and that's why something sort of arose, right? And because there's all the stories and all the different continents sort of come up sort of a little bit similar, but if you go through the Bible's story of that, is that when the flood happened and Noah and just the family, where did his son run off to and create a new civilization when he went off by himself? A man can't procreate his own seed.
Well, I think you have to read, I forget what it's called. All the series end with the word Eden. Escaping Eden, I think it's called, because he talks about, because actually we talked about it on my show, because I said you and I had talked about this off air, exactly how did the world become repopulated after the Great Flood. And because I also asked him the question, because we got into some of his theories from his research about how humanity was where we came from.
Hmm.
And he didn't come out and say it, but he kind of pointed to it with some of the facts that he had found for himself that he shared, that we have come from potentially, and there seems to be pointing towards more rather than less of us being basically seated here on this planet.
Right.
And then he got into the information about gods and things like that. Were they potentially ET? And he gets into why he believes that it could have been extraterrestrial
Hmm.
that was involved with this, that cleared the floodwaters and what have you.
Yeah.
I, I'm going to read just in cases. He says, I haven't heard that they had large feet. Oh, about the hobbits. He said that, but they shared territory with the Indonesian, Komodo dragon, reminding us of Tolkien. Interesting.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, like, my whole point about that has always been, though, if something exists, when you think about it back centuries ago, obviously or what we believe to know, there was no TV and radio and internet and what have you, and forms of entertainment. Even a couple generations ago, depending on when you lived, I mean, we went to radio before TV. There's the infamous, was it Orson Welles that was reading War of the Worlds and
Yep.
on live on air, and people went absolutely ballistic because they thought
Right.
that the world was ending?
Well, that comes into this whole topic that we both have discussed here about blind faith,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's the way that cults and religions work, right? That they go through there. It says just believe. You don't have to. We can't explain it, but just believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that works good for some people in some programs and stuff like that. But I think that is detrimental to people that don't want to ask questions and figure out actually what's going on. And it
You are
doesn't
right
have to.
about that.
And it doesn't have to be like when you have people that say just trust the science. And what science is? Asking questions. And you can't say this is the science. I am the science. Believe it says, well, no, I'm going to do my own science and figure out if your science is correct or not.
Well, I think that that's what science really is having an idea or a
Hmm.
question and having as many people as possible test that, we'll say, hypothesis.
Right? Yep.
I can't even talk tonight. Hypothesis, I should say, and
Hmm.
sharing what your results are. And if you get the same results, can
Yep.
we keep repeating them? But if you get different results, why did you get different results? And you're right, it's constantly questioning, constantly
Right.
testing things. And you are right. And I think where we're getting to this, and it's myself realizing this, is we can't just use that on one facet of life. And I'm talking even about myself, that yes, you are right.
Yep.
And I've agreed with you. We
Yep.
do have to question everything. We do.
Right. You know that water boils at sea level different than it
Hmm.
boils at the top of the Himalayas, right? And water will boil in a vacuum. So, like, there's a lot of things. Oh, I don't even want to get into the whole part about the moon landing and the Apollo missions because
Well,
that goes
let's
in.
read
That goes
Dave's
in.
comments.
Let's let's
Dave
let's,
says, oh,
let's
go ahead.
stick on the part about the little people there. What have they been doing? Hey,
No,
you.
Dave, I want to read Dave's comment. He said, I think most of the civilizations were independently seeded. I agree, Laura Lee, with what we were talking about a few minutes ago with Paul Anthony Wallace's his theory. And then he says they each have a god that brought them to their native land and taught them. Yes, but was it actually a god or was it an extraterrestrial race? That's where Paul was going with that. And then
Right.
he said, yes, right, Dell. He said, real scientists welcome challenges and questions. And I agree, they do.
Hmm.
They do. So, you are right about that. And I think we kind of went full circle with this here because you're right. We can't use that. And it's not that what I wanted to point out, because I don't want people to think I'm so gullible that I just, oh my God, that's got to be true because it was on TV or no.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I don't necessarily say, no, that can't be true because I haven't experienced it, is where I was going with it.
Mhm.
I'm open to the potential, if you will, that somebody has had a different experience than I have. And could they be lying to me? Potentially. And
Yeah.
if they are, my belief is the truth will always come to the surface, or the truth will be revealed, if you will.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's the magic of magic,
Hmm.
right? And that goes into another part there is that when you understand how a trick is done, that it doesn't for me it doesn't destroy the part of the trick. I
Hmm.
love to watch how things like remember we used to watch there the whole time there the Penn and Teller fool us. We know
Well,
how these
you
tricks,
watch it.
yeah, but we watch it. It says, and but you want to see the beautiful mechanics of somebody doing a trick that would fool you, even though they knew sometimes they knew how it was done,
Hmm.
right? Then and the person get the fool us trophy, whatever. But there's always a pattern that's done there to get the effect that was done, and that's the way I look at things. It says now if the pattern I can't solve that's there, I put that on the burner on the side, going says okay, this might be possible. Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe it's ETs here on Earth. Maybe yes, no. Is time travel possible? Maybe yes, no.
Yeah, because
Who
we
know?
had this conversation a
I
couple nights ago,
Yeah,
because I do believe, and this is the whole thing, I think that we are at least 50 to 75 years advanced in what the public is aware of is possible versus
right.
what they're really capable of. I think time travel exists, and we were talking about this.
We
We have
just
these
watched
kind
that.
of discussions.
We just watched that movie there this morning. There, The Atom Project.
That was an interesting movie, folks. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, not affiliated with us in any way, shape, or form,
Hmm.
but it was a very interesting concept. It's with Ryan Reynolds
Yeah,
and Mark Ruffalo's at the end and
yeah,
Jennifer Garner.
yeah.
And it was very, very interesting because, you hear, and Del and I again had quite the conversation about this, because the theory is that we've heard, just for myself, I'll say, is that you're not supposed to see yourself if you're able to travel in time, because you could cause a paradox,
Well, the part
meaning
is that you
change
can't.
history.
The soul can't exist in the same timeline at the same time.
That's your belief. It
Right.
doesn't mean it can't.
That's a theory, right?
Hmm.
There's so many theories on this, but some people, and this is what I said there earlier, is that some people take these theories and they make them fact to their belief structure, and
Hmm.
that's all they believe. Says, well, you can't do that. You can't go back there and change that. You're not going to go back to your real timeline. But he had said this really interesting line in there. I'm not going to spoil the movie. It's about around the 20-minute section there. And if you want to watch the movie, go watch the movie. You can watch it anyways if you got a Fire Stick or a VPN. So check it out.
Oh, I thought you were going to add something with the line
No,
in the
I don't
movie.
want to spoil the rest
Okay.
of the movie because the movie was actually really interesting and good. So
Hmm.
it was one of the better ones that I watched there, besides that Foo Fighters movie, Studio 666. So
Well, actually, Dave just added, now this is his belief, biolocation is very possible. I agree. I believe it is too, Dave. And the thing is, with this movie, and the other thing that's going to sound super crazy, we're talking about strange, unexplained, and what have you.
mhm.
I do believe that sometimes they give us that information and hints of what really is out there in movies. I really do. And get into predictive programming. Now, we're not doing a conspiracy theory show, but
Yeah.
even if I don't watch horror movies, I don't like them. Dell's not a big fan either. So, but there's certain things out there that they put in movies, and we can even go back to, are the Simpsons psychic? How were they able to tell us or show us or whatever, you
Hmm.
know, 5, 10 years before? Again, we're not doing a conspiracy theory show, but my whole point is, I think that there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. Who knows? Maybe some of this paranormal is stuff from behind the scenes. All I know is, it seems with my own research and talking to different people, that we seem to be having a lot more, I'll say, interesting, unexplainable things caught on camera. Um, people experiencing things maybe they haven't experienced before? And again, is it just because people have more time in their hands to document it, or is it really happening? Why are
Well,
you laughing?
how about all the listeners out there? They go and they close their eyes and they go 1, 2, 3, wake up now, and then they wake up and they're inside of a cell, or maybe they're on a green grass somewhere else, and all they've been listening to was just a dream.
Now you're getting crazy. Okay, I want to read Justin's thing because we were talking about War of the Worlds, and you said Orson Welles, who read it,
Yeah,
even interrupted the radio broadcast several times to ascertain that it was only fiction, but
yeah,
folks still panicked. But that's the thing, right? When we only use one source of information, or we
yep,
don't stop to listen
hmm,
or ask questions, I will give it that, right?
yep,
A lot of people, and again, like Dave, everybody's had some great comments here tonight, and I really appreciate all your feedback on this because everybody's had a little bit different idea, but we're all adding little bits and pieces to the puzzle, or as Del says, throwing everything into the pot and stirring it up.
yep,
But I think that that's what's missing nowadays is taking the time to have a conversation. Like,
yep,
Del and I, we don't, you can see we're not on the same page about everything, but we
hmm,
had a conversation and we're hearing each other. Maybe we don't agree, but I think that that's okay. We can agree to disagree, but
right,
have a conversation and still learn from each other. For example, just in case just says biolocation isn't impossible according to physics. It's
hmm,
just very unlikely for objects larger than approximately 2,000 molecules. Now, Justin, I can't remember where you work, but I know that you know what you're talking about by whom you work for because you've
hmm,
shared it on this show before. And I'm not even going to, I'm probably going to be wrong if I say what it is, but let's just say he knows about these things because he shared it before.
yeah,
And again, our whole point we were bringing this up about was, though, people are saying that you can't biolocation isn't possible, or your soul can't
right,
exist in two places, or you could cause a paradox if you show up and you see yourself in
right,
another timeline.
right.
But how
That's
do people
theory.
know? It's a
That's
theory.
exactly
Hmm.
right, and it doesn't matter. It says you can be whatever the best physicist in the world and do
Hmm.
whatever, but it's all theory until you actually are able to do it, right?
And then it's
And
just one
prove it,
person's experience. Like, actually, Zach,
right?
you made a good point. You said we need more civil dialogues like this one in today's society. And I agree with you. That's been part of my message along over the last few years, especially is if we could just agree to disagree,
Exactly.
pull together as humanity
Hmm.
and love one another and pull together
Yeah.
and support one another because we can do anything if we put our
Right.
differences aside. And so you said your work, maybe I got you mixed up with somebody. I don't think I do, but maybe you don't want to say it here.
Well,
you
the big thing there is that.
I wasn't done, but go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. Okay. No, sorry.
I
You
just
go.
wanted to add with just in case he said my work. I've been a sci-fi and mystery writer since 1986. Maybe I've got you mixed up with somebody else, but I don't think so because I remembered when you were on here. I could though, and I'm sorry because there was somebody else also, but they worked within a lot more deeper science type things. And that's all I'll say. Go ahead, Del. You were going to say something.
Yeah. It says there is no growth without experience and
Mm-hmm.
trial and error. You don't go forward without failure. So you got to keep on trying, going there. And we talked about this in the first hour is that giving everybody a trophy for just showing up does
Mm-hmm.
not create growth.
Or assuming. That's the other problem that I find we get very
Hmm.
butthurt, if you will, because somebody has said something. It's one of the reasons why, and anybody that knows me knows I voice message. Because first of all, I got too many people to type and my phone has a mind of its own. But I find that emails and text messages can really be misconstrued when there's an alternative meaning. Instead of taking the time to ask what somebody means, people assume that's what the person meant instead of having a conversation and discussing and actually asking the simple question of, what did you mean by that? And going from there, right? And like you said, Justin, you agree with this. And I think, oh, you also write for Skeptic Magazine. There you go, Del, and Canadian Journal of Bioethics. I love
Oh,
it.
good.
Love it. There
Send
you
send me
go.
send me a copy and go to the delicious stories at gmail.com. Send me a copy of that and I'll check it out.
Well, you don't ask him to send it to you. It's just, or he maybe the website where he can check it out, Justin,
Yeah,
instead.
yeah,
But
yeah,
we
exactly. That's what I was meaning. Yeah.
the reason why I remember your name, just in case, and I know I've told you this before, is our youngest son, Dell's stepson, my son. His name is Justin, and his father, my first husband, wanted his middle name to be Case, and I said, "Over my dead body, will my child be named just in case?" So that's why I remember your name. You guys, we're almost out of time. We got a few more minutes, but we got to be out of here in the next 5 minutes or so. Del, you want to talk a little bit more about your show for just a minute or so, and let people know who
Sure.
your guest is going to be and what you got coming up?
Yes, I got coming up this Thursday on the 14th at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central. I got part two of me and Big Jim Paris, my old boss that I went prospecting with that had dealt with the music industry and a whole bunch of different things. So we're going into part two of this thing. I'm really excited to talk to him again.
Interesting stories.
He's written two books there, and you know what? A lot of people actually checked out the first installment of this one. There was a couple of weeks ago, so check that one out and tune in there this week.
Yeah, what time? Thursday.
7 p.m. Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central. The
Mhm.
delicious recipe here on UPRN, UFO Paranormal. This same stuff you're watching here. Check out the delicious recipe on Facebook. Become a member on there too. It costs you nothing, but you just join the group.
And
And
then if you're looking for stories, right,
yeah,
still.
and the delicious stories at gmail.com. Any stories of paranormal cryptids, any sort of life experience stories that are sort of out of the ordinary, and I'll keep you anonymous out of the whole thing, so you don't have to worry about it. So and just stories, we'll just pass them on, and I'm trying to get this uh, database or a list up there so I can do a show once a month of telling stories of weird events that people have encountered. And it's just the whole thing about bringing people together. Maybe somebody else in North America had the same experience in New Zealand
Hmm.
or China or wherever, and this whole thing that just sort of knits everything together.
Yes, and just in case said he'll send you some. That's very kind of you, Justin. And then I'll get Dell to forward them so we can check them out. But we want to let you know, and I do too. I want to let you know, all of you, how much I appreciate you supporting our network, supporting our shows, being here for us. With that being said, April 25th on the Monday, I will be moving, the show will be moving 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. And the beauty in that is we get a lot of guests from overseas, across the pond. It should be easier for them. And I'm also in the process of setting up pre-recording some shows that I will be able to. Oh, you got to, Justin. Sorry, Justin says I have a real nasty poltergeist story. We'll send it along. Ooh, can't wait to read that one. Anyways, I
Awesome.
was gonna. I really do mean that, Justin. So that's great. Because that's what Dell's looking for. Um, Stories like that. But what I was saying was the show is moving, but I am working on having, we usually have guests, but I like to have shows like this every now and then to let you guys all, and girls, let you know, or whomever, or however you identify, how much we really appreciate you. I consider you guys our Angel Rocker family. And if you are listening, please send the show, share it with friends or whomever you think may be interested. Also, if you want to hear a replay, say you're driving, you only caught a few minutes of this, you can find all of our shows on wherever podcasts or talk radio is. So iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Spotify, Podbean, just to name a few. So please make sure to check those out. If you ever want to get a hold of myself, maybe you've got somebody you want me to check out and have on the show, or a show idea. Maybe you want to book a reading with me or some healing sessions, whatever it may be. You can get a hold of me on facebook.com/the Angel Rock. My email is also theangelrock1508@gmail.com. I'm on all social media platforms under the Angel Rock as well. And two groups on Facebook, and we'd love to have you join, please. We've got people from all over the world there. Paranormal University for all things paranormal, and we've got people from all over the world, all walks of life, all topics under the paranormal spectrum. And then the Angel Rocker Tribe for all things spiritual, discovering your own gifts, the power of the mind, power of positivity, and such. I want to thank the Dell for being here tonight. I want to thank you all here. I'm going to read a few Zach's comment said, great show tonight. Have a good night, my friends. Catch you later. Love you. We love you all too. I knew that Dave was going to say good night, Lorilei. Good night, Dell. Thank you all for being here, and good morning, good afternoon, or evening, wherever you can be. Thank you again, Dell. And
Yep.
send you all so much love and light. We'll see you next week, same time, same space. We don't switch to the new time till the week after that. Okay, guys? Happy Easter too if you celebrate. And we'll talk to you later. Okay, take care.